Late one night, a massive fire consumed the royal palace at Waranawata. The ruling family assumed the 5 brothers perished in the blaze, but weeks later, they walked back into the capital, very much alive. Their survival created an immediate succession crisis in Hastina. While they were presumed dead, their cousin, Kurapati, had already been sworn in as the new crown prince. Now 2 rival factions, the righteous Pandawas and jealous Kurawas, both held legitimate competing claims to the throne. To prevent an all-out civil war between the cousins, King Dretarastra proposed a compromise. He decided to divide the kingdom in half. But the king's chief advisor, Pati Sankuni, manipulated the deal so the math didn't add up. The Kurawas kept the wealthy, established capital. The Pandawas received a massive, uncharted wilderness known as the Wanamarta forest. Wanamarta's reputation turned this political partition into an execution. The territory was notorious for being completely uninhabitable, ruled by vicious, invisible spirits that killed anyone who crossed the tree line. By sending the Pandawas here, Sankuni relied on the forest to do his dirty work. The brothers reacted to the land grant exactly as you might expect. The massive, hot-tempered Bhima demanded they take up arms for their birthright. But the eldest brother, Puntadewa, shut the rebellion down with a stance of absolute pacifism. Crown Prince Kurupati had actually fallen severely ill from the stress of almost losing his title. Puntadewa reasoned, if holding the throne was killing his cousin, he would willingly step aside to save his life and spare the kingdom from war. The Pandawas packed their belongings and marched directly into the cursed wilderness. They knew exactly what Sankuni was trying to do, and they walked into the snare anyway. In the ruthless world of high-stakes politics, true virtue often looks indistinguishable from political suicide. For the Pandavas, accepting this fatal exile was the ultimate test of their right to rule. Once inside Wanamarta, Bhima took point. Relying entirely on raw physical strength, he began tearing massive trees out of the soil with his bare hands, rapidly clearing space for a settlement. But his reckless deforestation carried a heavy cost. The violent logging displaced local wildlife, sending terrified predators charging toward their camp, and it deeply offended the supernatural inhabitants who controlled the woods. Seeing the chaos, Puntadewa intervened. He ordered Bhima to halt the physical destruction, sat down on the forest floor, and entered deep meditation. The raging animals, sensing his calm energy, quickly became docile. He explained to his brother that completely leveling the woods was a massive mistake. A viable kingdom needs the forest canopy to capture rainwater and prevent floods, and the native wildlife must be given space to coexist. Conquering a territory requires brute force, but sustaining it requires environmental stewardship. You cannot master a region if you destroy the natural resources that keep it alive. The wildlife was just the first line of defense. The hidden threat of Wanamarta came from the Jinn kings of Martani, invisible, supernatural monarchs who immediately launched a magical counterattack to stop the deforestation. The Pandawas were suddenly fighting ghosts. They were hit with thick, poisonous smoke and invisible forces that left Bhima completely paralyzed and the others fighting blindly against thin air. The tide turned only through divine intervention. A deity gifted the 3rd brother, Arjuna, a magical oil called Lisa Pranawa. When rubbed across the eyes, it granted true sight, allowing the user to pierce the veil of the supernatural realm. Now able to see their attackers, Arjuna and a recovered Bhima went on the offensive. They engaged the Jinn kings and a neighboring giant named King Arimba in brutal hand-to-hand combat, systematically dismantling the supernatural army. Navigating a rigged system requires the vision to accurately identify the invisible forces manipulating the board. The brothers succeeded only when they stopped swinging at shadows and faced the real enemy. When the fighting stopped, a supernatural plot twist occurred. The defeated Jinn kings didn't die. Instead, they bowed to the Pandawas, willingly submitting and merging their spiritual energy directly into the bodies of the 5 brothers. With the Jinn's submission, the terrifying illusion covering Wanamarta shattered away. The dark, haunted wilderness dissolved. Beneath the cursed trees lay Indraprastha, a breathtaking, technologically advanced city built by the gods themselves. It was a fully realized capital, kept hidden until the rightful rulers proved they were worthy to claim it. Standing in the center of this incredible prize, the brothers turned to Puntadewa. Reluctant as ever, but bowing to unanimous pressure, he accepted the crown, becoming the first king of the newly forged utopian realm of Amarta. The Kurawas tried to bury their rivals in a cursed forest, and the plan backfired perfectly. By confronting an impossible situation with unyielding virtue and targeted power, the Pandawas didn't just survive in exile, they built an empire, proving that true sovereignty is earned, never stolen.